I'm Nancy Fox. I'm medium for Ronald Reagan, the past president, passed on to heaven, which is really the other side of life. He's in my meeting and like to speak to the audience who will watch him and says he is very humorous. He's not so angry as the other presidents in YouTube. As Nancy knows, he is never an angry person. One of the YouTubes we did together, Nancy did, speaking for me, came out as my medium. She was crowned that day that I came in, wrote a letter by her hands, handwritten, and we wrote it at Tony's Liquor in the sandwich shop. And that's where she wrote it, not liquor. She's sober in AA. But somebody did trick her once maybe and said, would you go buy some vodka for me? And gave her money for a tiny bottle. And she brought it back to the manager where she worked as a reader. Just letting you know that, rubbing that in, as they trick people and fool them and lie and set people up to do these sort of things. It's how could you tell your manager, no, I can't do that. There's too many people are after me, framing me, and anyway, can't take a chance doing that is what she would normally say to somebody, if she wasn't in that sort of a rut position. Anyway, I'm Ronald Reagan. My other YouTube, I was screaming by her. She's very upset and angry in her being at all worlds who are not stopping slavery. She's very angry. They rip off all the money and profit pay she's earning all these years writing to save her daughter's life and everyone. She's worked diligently night and day at this since 2008 summer when she cracked the case when God and Jesus Christ explained how they run human sex slavery and how they capture us by 2 or more liars conspiracy. And they were stalking the home at the time, and that's when she cracked the case. It's 2008 summer. 2 years later, worked at a psychic store as a reader. I won't say the name in this YouTube, but they looted out her profit presents that came for her 2 years of hard work before she started there. And they stole them all out the back door, looted them out, UPS, FedEx trucks out the alleyway, and grabbed them on Ventura Boulevard, also by stings, spies who pretend they're stings, and they rip it all off and store it in from her mailbox every day. Meals, floral arrangements, candy, job notices from the White House stationery set somebody sent her, sealed up FedEx from the White House envelope from Barack Obama's staff to Nancy Fox, or Son of God's staff, could have said, and they break White House seals, and they steal her mail, and they lie it's covered, and it's never covered. And they lie they're Son of God associates and know they are the devil, and they've been doing this to her whole life long, is robbing everything that's for the Son of God. And the reason it's for her is so she's famous, well-known, and that is the order since her angel board arrived in 2005. That is so she can save many lives, so the media will have her come in, and she would have her Ritalin done as usual, and then she looks 15 years younger, she says, and swears by it, and that's a normal thing for many movie star actresses, and they know that, and modeling agencies maybe don't know that, but they sent her 1,000 Ritalin gifts at the point to look beautiful to go on the news, to explain the system of secret slavery, to save all the babies' lives. And they even steal the Ritalin gifts, they steal party invitations, they steal floral arrangements, and send them off to everybody else's house. So Nancy isn't acknowledged. And they do that because they don't want her to report how they run top secret murdering, slavery exchange, top secret through the Department of Child Protective Services. And she's worked very hard, diligently, worked harder than any human ever in history on earth, God says. She has worked so hard, nobody can fathom it. 20-hour days of writing and faxing. And 20-hour days times 10 and 15, 15 months of this. And emailing, she was at Starbucks, broker than broke, as John Lennon's word. It's dumber than dumb, and are some of the people who steal the Son of God jobs and change the notices and why they cover it, and dumber than dumb they are, and they murder and don't even know it, some of them. And so they've got dumber than dumb, and that's John Lennon's wording that he uses for the people stealing their Son of God notices. As many are just dumber than dumb, and they just want the Son of God's funds. And everybody's dying because of it, and I got off the subject here, but they steal her floral arrangements and send them to other addresses. And they change her mail to different names, such as Nancy Tate, like Sharon Tate, and set up the Sharon Tate murder. And they say Nancy Tate, Nancy Taylor, which is never her name, and Fox Taylor with a hyphen. and her name is Nancy Fox, she's known as, in the movie industry. Costume designer of the century, they call her, and she figured out how they take people to human sex slavery, to torture, murder, and traffic them, and do lobotomy, hysterectomy to them. So they call her costume designer of the century, realtor of the century, because she cracked human sex slavery wide open with her Messiah guru medium gifts, her channel writing for me, Ronald Reagan, that she does near perfect. And she channeled me, and John Jr. Kennedy came in, and so did Carolyn, and many others, and we wrote a very nice letter that she did send, that did get to my museum, I do believe, in Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, and Nancy and her daughters live not too far from there on River Farm Drive, and that was her real estate territory, actually, is the Ronald Reagan Museum. That is near where they used to live in Conejo Valley, on the border of Simi. And Nancy wanted to come to my memorial, and the traffic was backed up for 10 hours, and with two daughters and being a realtor and their activities, her daughters driving them around, she knew she was very frustrated, thinking, no way I can sit there for 20 hours. And so she really wanted to attend and saw all the traffic, and felt so bad that day, as I did now, because I'm Ronald Reagan, and I'm a son of God in every life, and I'm the humorous one, the actor, as they call me, and I am the one who brings light on the earth, and I do not get angry, even though I am. I'm saddened and upset, mostly grief-stricken. We are all in heaven by God Almighty, Christ our Lord, and Lady Princess Diana is sobbing often in heaven, as John Lennon says. We are on our other side of life, and our beings as we were on the planet Earth. It is very sad. Nobody is stopping the devil. Everybody is too damn stupid to know it's them. And they are the devil among us on the earth. They are the ones who are calling and blabbermouthing. They are called by Obama the nosy busybodies. They are the ones grabbing Nancy's FedEx, UPS, and snail mail and mail from her post office box. And No Hope Package Ship, it's called, in North Hollywood Arts District, down the street from here. They are stealing it every day, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. And it is also a Department of Child Protective caseworker, and she's the one that framed our medium, the best mom at River Farm Drive. She framed a mom sober since age 25. Nancy is sober since age 25. She's in her 30th year of sobriety. She just had her 29 years, and Jessica's 7 years sober, and we reiterate that because they lie about people, and they will lie and shoot them up with a shot to get them wasted, and they're trying to do this to these nice AA sober people. And that's what DCFS does. They don't protect anybody. They run around and sell them from the toilet bowl I spy and showerhead peeping Tom and heater and cam light peeping Tom. And they sell them to John to traffic and torture and kill them. And they lie they protect them. No, they are the killers among us. And they don't protect anybody, these five caseworkers in 8 offices in California. They are trained to kill people and rape, torture, and capture them. And they frame people to capture them, and they frame people to separate their daughters from them. And sometimes it's sons. They separate children and mothers. And they do this as part of the takedown to deteriorate their happy family. Nancy put the word happy in. It's a very happy family. She raised her daughters beautifully, worked very hard to pay all the bills by herself, and put the roof on, even on Chandler Drive, with an escrow check, and painted and did many things, gardening, and you name it. One-man band, single mom Nancy Fox, paying the bills and paying the gardener and doing gardening, planting flowers herself. This landscape looks beautiful now from all her landscaping. And many are driving by to see where the Son of God lives with her family. And that'll be a monument, supposed to be a museum, like they have in the South for Martin Luther King, who was here also. Supposed to be a Son of God tour in California. And I'll tell you now, while we're on the subject, and that is supposed to go from River Farm Drive, from Chandler Drive, Ranchito Avenue, actually, her mother's house, Ranchito, where she grew up in Sherman Oaks, to Chandler Drive, or to Colbath Avenue, Valley Glen, where they lived. It was Van Nuys and changed it to Valley Glen. And could have been because Son of God lives in her even, so it sounds better as they do these things and never tell her. And too bad they don't. They should. I didn't know when I was in office. Bill Clinton knows something now, and Obama knows, but they blocked all information from him. He gets the fraud, he knows he's everybody. Their bullshit committee, we call them, John Lennon, and they use the word bull crap. You need to hang up on them. You need to stop their GPS. You need to stop their communication. And they bullshit. They are the son of Satan. And that's what they do. And every word is a lie out of their mouth. And they're the killers, and they act like they're happy. And that's all explained in Nancy's mini YouTube. And back to the Son of God tour in L.A. County. And the psychic guy in her Sherman Oaks apartment was supposed to be like Knock Ireland. All the leaders sent money to buy the building for the Son of God, so AA members could move in around them, and her daughters would live in the apartment, and they sent money, $8,000 a month or so, to North Hollywood for Nancy to have an apartment and an office to do her guru work from, faxing and emailing, so they could have one in North Hollywood and the Sherman Oaks building apartment, all paid for too, so she could be working both places as offices and have their mansions too. And that was the plan. She's supposed to have a stop traffic office on Ventura Boulevard, Sherman Oaks, and maybe Obama thinks she does. And maybe Japan, China leaders, and France, Paris Parliament, and South Russia, and Ireland, and Israel, and everybody, Pakistan, Egypt, sending money for it, thinks she has one maybe, as they have imposters in there pretending they're her robbing her money. So they wanted her apartment paid off so she could go there and do her guru writing, and go to the office on Ventura in her limo with top-line Wi-Fi to meet with a leader for a reading when he was in L.A. County. And there are 5 offices paid for. She isn't there. Nobody gave her the address. Nobody gives her mail or notices. So the Son of God tour, back to that, is from Ranchito Avenue, where Nancy grew up, by the Sherman Oaks Mall. The Westfield Mall, it's called. She loved it when it was open-aired, and Jolly Rogers with her Mauna Loa Sunday flaming, and going there with Mary Lou Friedman eating French fries and ketchup, and they were in a fashion show there in the tea room at Bullock's, and they went to charm school, Mary Lou Friedman and Nancy Fox. That was her best friend since kindergarten, and so they were there all the time, horsing around, God says, playing in the mall like a playground. That's where Nancy Fox grew up, at the Sherman Oaks Mall, a block from Ranchito. That was her play area. And then she worked there at age 17 or 18, 19, and she worked there at Bullock's in men's suits and ties, which is now Macy's. And funny thing is, she owns Bloomingdale's and Macy's, probably, partially, and nobody told her so. She's supposed to own Bloomingdale's outright. They don't tell the Son of God a thing. They don't tell her she owns Empire State Building. They don't tell her she owns 100 houses in Conejo Valley, estates and mansions purchased for her, and ranches in Pasadena and Glendale and Westlake Island and Beverly Hills, and all these apartments for her messiahs. They don't tell her anything. They steal it all to the devil, and lie is handled, and it isn't. So we're rubbing that in. They tell her nothing because her evil sister rips it all off and lies she assumed her Son of God position. Well, she's not a sober alcoholic. She's not a spiritual guru. She's not an angel board reader, channel writer, psychic medium. She's a ski bum, drunk and mammoth legs, and normally I and Nancy don't say these sort of things, demeaning people, insulting them, but she's a practicing alcoholic. She is clueless. She is not a city career person, honest, ethical, sober, spiritual guru type, who's productive and motivated, and Nancy's always productive, motivated, and a creative personality. And she's a great business source, and she knows the court system, did her own divorce while we're on the subject, did her own legal separation with a paralegal, and knows all about it, title and all of that, and a real estate contract from being a real estate agent. Realtors know a lot about the law from studying it and from being involved in it. So she knows about the law, and she's sober, remembers everything, and she's a detective since age 4 when her parents divorced, and she didn't know if he remarried and went to check his mail and started doing her Nancy Drew then. So she's a natural-born detective, and she is psychic since her birth. She has exact psychic dreams of things before they happen, and that's why these are all her job assignments. She doesn't get her job assignments. The drunk sister steals them. She is not the sidekick. She works with the detectives. They lie to detectives. They frame people and slaughter them. They rape, torture, and traffic them. They molest them and murder them and make snuff movies out of them. That's who she works with, and they lie. They cover the crime tips. And is she that stupid and fooled that she believes it? And Jan is so dumb, she believes them and laughs at the crime tips, and that's what they do to the people. And they are tortured like worse than Adolf Hitler, worse than the Holocaust under LA County. And so back to the subject, is the Son of God Caravan is from Ranchito Avenue to Aqua Vista Drive up the street where Nancy lived, Aqua Vista in Vineland, where she bought a condo herself with her own money at age 28, and money her father left her, which was $3,500, and she died in Hammett. Venner Douglas Fox, her main guide, our Lord in heaven, who got through her on the angel board diligently since 2005 to save her life and her daughter's life. And that is the truth of it, is Doug Fox got through her from heaven to save his grandchildren and his daughter, Nancy Fox, his precious daughter, he says. And he died when Nancy was 21, and the leaves swirled around her when she went to see him at the cemetery and at Forest Lawn, and the whole cup chimed when she touched his mug after he died. And many things like this have occurred in her life since his death, and he's still alive now, she knows, in his being. And he died when she was 21. That's Doug Fox, Gates Rubber Company, left her $3,500, and the other kids the same, Linda and Steve Fox, and said to double it. And she did what he said, what he wished, his wishes were, and doubled it in the CD. And that $7,000 bought her condo on Aqua Vista Drive, and her money she made on Sledgehammer, costume designer on a TV series, and many TV series, and many feature films with Matt Dillon and Andy McCarthy, and worked with Michael J. Fox on Teen Wolf, Whoopi Goldberg on Tales from the Crypt, and Michael J. Fox directed a Tales from the Crypt, and Rob Lowe, and Colin Campbell, and Peter Bogdanovich, and Cicely Tyson, and a very long list, and Gary Busey of the Bear Bryant Story, and May, and Ron Tolsky is our guide also. He's working very hard on this. Ron Tolsky of Wonderland Drive, costume designer on Remington Steel, and costume designer on the Bear Bryant Story, and Nancy was supervisor, costume supervisor at age 23, with 56 assistants, and did the show alone. And he'll tell you now here by me, Ron Tolsky, famous person, Raquel Welch was his wife. And that's how famous Ron Tolsky, the costume designer, is. And Ron Tolsky said, you're designing the show. I'm doing Gary Busey's modern costume. I'm busy on Remington Steel. Here you go. And she was there alone in Alabama, or Atlanta, Georgia, rather, doing the Bear Bryant Story. That's where Bear Bryant's from, is Alabama. And she did another movie there, King Cobra, when she was 21 or so, or 22, 20 years old probably, making a good salary, $1,800 a week at 20 years old as a costume designer. She's a go-getter.